Hi, good morning. This is Ashley Malana. I will be tackling about media and globalization. Globalization entails the spread of various cultures. When a film is made in Hollywood, it is shown not only in the United States, but also in other cities across the globe. South Korean rapper Psy's Gangnam Style may have been about a wealthy suburb in Seoul, but its listeners included millions who have never been or may never go to Gangnam. Globalization also involves the spread of ideas. For example, the notion of the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender, or the LGBTQ communities, is spreading across the world and becoming more widely accepted. Similarly, the conservative Christian church that opposes these rights moves from places like South America and Korea and to Burundi in Africa. So, because of globalization, a film or anything that is made in certain countries like Hollywood, dili na lang siya ma-show not only in the certain countries or in the United States, pero also in other cities po around the globe. Like, for example, Psy's Gangnam Style. Diba? Dili lang siya na massive hit in Sokor or in South Korea only, pero daghan pod siya listeners. Dili lang kay kana lang yung listeners, but millions of listeners around the world. Diba, bisag kadtong nga mga tao is not familiar about Gangnam or wa pa sila kaadto o Gangnam, pero kay lagi it's a catchy song na spread gid siya throughout the world. And also, ang globalization pod dili lang kay culture ang gina-spread, but of course ideas also, like kaning LGBT rights, how they spread or they reach audiences for them to be more accepted, diba, sa mga tao. Of course, pareha po aning nag-oppose sa rights nila, like ning mga Christian churches, they also put travels or moves from places to places para po i-reach ang ilang gusto ma-reach na mga audiences na unsa lang gusto ipaabot ato. So people who travel the globe teaching and preaching their beliefs in universities, churches, public forums, classrooms, or even as guests of a family play a major role in the spread of culture and ideas. But today, TV programs, social media groups, books, movies, magazines, and the like have made it easier for advocates to reach larger audiences. Globalization relies on media as its main conduit for the spread of global culture and ideas. So, diba sa una, people travel good para lang hatod sa ilang gusto mahatod, sa ilang gusto, ilang mga beliefs nila, ilang spread. Pero karon na natay TV programs man, mga social medias, we can easily reach audiences because of the media or because of the internet nowadays, diba? So, globalization made it easier for us to reach wide audiences. Like, of course, globalization gid nag-rely gid sa media, kanang mao gid siya ang main way of spreading cultures, ideas, and etc. So Jack right then to ask, could global trade have evolved without the flow of information on markets, prices, commodities, and more? Could empires have stretched across the globe or across the world without communication throughout their borders? Could religion, music, poetry, film, fiction, cuisine, and fashion develop as they have without intermingling of media and culture? So, kung ang global trade ba daw, mag-evolve ba daw siya if walay flow of information like kaning throughout sa borders sa bawat cities, bawat countries, diba? Dili gid siya mag-flow, dili gid siya magkawatak, not watak-watak, dili gid siya ma-spread from one place to another kung walay flow of information. So, there is an intimate relationship between globalization and media, which must be unraveled to further understand the contemporary. So, naagay, relationship gid ang globalization and media to reach, syempre, more audience. So, Globalization and the Mass Media in Wiley Blackwell's Encyclopedia of Globalization, 2012, Dr. Carolina Matus. Globalization theorists have discussed how the cultural dimension of globalization has exercised a profound impact on the whole globalization process. The rapid expansion of global communications in the 21st century can be traced back to the mechanical advancements of technologies during the course of the 18th and 19th centuries, which started mainly with the invention of the telegraph in 1837 and included the growth in postal services, cross-border, telephone and radio communications, and the technologies of transmitting messages via electromagnetic waves that marked a turning point in advancing the globalization of communication. So, itong mga globalist or mga theorists, they discuss ang every cultural dimension ko no sa globalization unsa iyang impact sa whole globalization process. So like ang katong expansion sa global communication atong 21st century is nadala ra pod ay bale gikan sa atong communication technology atong 18th and 19th centuries nga nag-start sa telegraph. So telegraph is the main invention in 1837. So, diha na po nagsugod ang growth sa mga postal services, itong mga telephone and radio communication, and katong mga electromagnetic waves na mag-transmit og messages. So, the emergence of international news agencies in the 19th century, such as Reuters, paved the way for the beginnings of a global system of codification. Nonetheless, it was not until the 1960s, with the launch of the first geostationary communication, satellites, and the communication by electromagnetic transmission, become fully global, thus making the globalization of communication a distinctive phenomenon of the 21st or the 20th century. Samson, 1995, 159. So, katong Reuters, mo ni siya ang nag-pave the way or beginning sa atong global system atong 1960s. Nag-launch of geostationary nga mga communication satellites, no, gamit ang electromagnetic transmission, and it became fully global na dayon. And mo na din siya ang communication, mo na siya ang distinctive na communication way of communication nato until now. So media and its functions. Who describes media as a means of conveying something such as a channel of communication? So technically speaking, a person's voice is a medium. However, when commentators refer to media or the plural of medium, they mean the technologies of mass communication. So Silul, describe niya ang media as a means of conveying something or convey something, di ba? Or as channel of communication. So, ang media ang atong channel of communication, especially karon, di ba, lagyo na ang mga tao. So, through media, we can communicate easily. So, however, ang mga commentators, gi-refer nila ang media, they mean, when they say media, it is a mass communication. So, mass na communication, bali, ang communication na sa tanan. So, natay print media, it include books, magazines, and newspapers. Mo ni ang print media ka ng mga gi-print bitaw ng mga media like mga news, di ba? Sa newspapers, we can read news. Bisag unsa nga news pa, celebrity, unsa ba diha, Inquirer, Philippine Daily Inquirer. And sa books, like, we can read it through books and magazines also. Then, ang broadcast, like, ang radio, ang film, ang television, we can hear, we can see na people broadcasting. And then, finally, digital media that cover the internet and mobile mass communication. So, itong digital media, nag-cover na siya sa internet o sa kanang mga mobile na mass communication. Thus, television is not a simple bearer of messages. It also shapes the social behavior of users and reorients family behavior. So, mag-shape po siya sa behavior sa mga users ang TV. Then, mag-reorient siya sa family behavior. Since it was introduced in the 1960s, television has drawn people away from meaningful activities such as physical games or reading books. So, kung na positive, na po siya negative, like, di ba? Mawala na ang ang katong mga activities such as physical games na ginahimo sa tower katong pag-read nila og books because of the television. Magtan-aw naman lang sila og TV kaysa maghimo ana or magbuhat ana nga mga physical activities. Then bisan pag nag-steered niya siya og people from dining table and stories while watching tell stories to each other while watching television. So today, smartphone allows users to keep in touch instantly with multiple people at the same time, makes for the social change possible. So ang social change na to karon is continuous na, nagala-ilahi na, and then it's okay man pod. Naman siya negative pero more on the positive side. Ang mga smartphone, di ba, nag-allow siya sa ato, sa mga users, to keep in touch, labi na atong mga lagyo, ng mga OFW, di ba? Maka-communicate well gid sa ila because of the smartphones, because of technologies nowadays. So McLuhan added that different media simultaneously extend and amputate human senses. New media may expand the reach of communication but also dull the user's communicative capacities. Storytellers no longer had to rely completely on their memory. So katong mga storytellers, no, they can post it na sa ilang mga blogs, di ba? They can write it on their notes na like ilan na nang ma-save wherever they want to, whenever they want to, because di na lang na sila mag-rely on their memories kay ano ba, naka-save naman. Di na siya mawala if ever, di ba? Kung imo lang write down sa imong papers, murag na possibility na mawala siya, masunog, mabasa. So karon murag it's easy for them na i-post na lang, din makita na din nila whenever they want to. So on the other hand, they expand people's senses because they provide the capability to talk more to people. Diba? Katong mga senses of people na mas maka-talk man tao more people, mas maka-communicate ta to more people because of the social media, because of the media, diba? Then also limit senses because they make users easily distractible. So that's all. I will be handing you over to Janice.
The global village and cultural imperialism. So next slide. So McLuhan used his analysis of technology to examine the impact of electronic media. Since he was writing around the 1960s, he mainly analyzed the social changes brought about the television. So he declared also that television was turning the world into a global village. So by this meant that is more and more people sit down in front of their television sets and listen to the same stories. Their perception of the world would contract. Kumbaga, kita nga mga tao is dito sa kalibutan is connected because of the media. So, next slide. So, in the years after McLuhan, media scholars further grapple with the challenges of a global media culture. A lot of these early thinkers assumed that global media had a tendency to homogenize culture. So, after McLuhan, ang mga scholar ng media ay higit na nakipagbuno sa mga hamon ng isang pandaigdigang kultura ng media. So marami sa mga naunang nag-iisip na ito ang nag-akala na ang pandaigdigang media ay may tendensiya na homogenize ang kultura. Then they argued that the global media spread people from over the world would begin to watch, listen, to read the same thing. So this thinking arose at the time when America's power had turned it into the world's cultural heavyweight. So, nagtalo sila na ang padidigang media na nagpapakalat ng mga tao mula sa buong mundo ay magsisimulang manood, makinig at magbasa ng parihong bagay. So ang pag-iisip na ito ay umusbong sa panahon ng ng kapangyarihan ng Amerika ay ginawa nila itong mabigat na kultural sa mundo. So, in 1976, Major's critic Herbert Schiller argued that not only was the world being Americanized, but this process also led to the spread of American capitalist values like consumerism. So, noong 1976, ang kritiko ng media na si Herbert Schiller ay nagtalo na hindi lamang ang mundo ay naging Americanized. Ngunit ang prosesong ito ay humantong din sa pagkalat ng mga halaga ng kapitalistang Amerikano tulad ng konsumerismo. So next slide. Similarly, for John Tomlinson, cultural globalization is simply a euphemism for Western cultural imperialism, since it promotes homogenized, westernized consumer culture. So, katulad nito, para kay John Tomlinson, ang cultural globalization ay isa lamang euphemism para sa Western cultural imperialism dahil itinataguyod nito ang homogenized, westernized consumer culture. So, next slide. So, critiques of cultural of imperialism. So, globalization is thus seen as having consequences for the distribution of power and wealth both within and between countries. So, cultural imperialism theories of the 1976 and 1980s highlights how the major developing countries imported foreign news, cultural and generations, genre, formats, and also values of capitalist consumerism and individualism. So, ang globalisasyon ay nakikita na may mga kahinatnan para sa pamahagi ng kapangyarihan at kayamanan sa loob at sa pagitan ng mga bansa. So, ang cultural imperialism theories noong 1970s at 1980s ay binigyang diin kung paano nag-import ng mga dayuhang balita, kultural at henerasyong mga format ng genre ang media. So, naumulan na bansa at gayon din ang halaga ng kapitalismo, consumerismo at individualismo. So, next slide. The core critic of imperialism thesis was the developing countries had established a relationship of subordination in relation to the first world countries that had historical roots in European colonialism, culminating in a core three-periphery relationship. One of the main theories on cultural imperialism tradition was Herbert Schiller 1969, who argued that the pursuit of commercial interests by US-based transnational corporations was serving undermine the cultural autonomy of countries of the South. So a group of Latin American scholars such as Armand Mathillard also criticized in From Within. So many Latin American were critical of the modernization. So perspective that the idea that the Western media entry in the Third World would contribute to the national development. So according to Herman and McChesney, 2004, the active audience perspective gives credit to the resistance to major globalization and commercialization. So a group of Latin American scholars such as Armand Mathillard also criticized it from within. Many Latin Americans were critical of the modernization. So, nabalik na din ko ano. Manigain nga slide. So, next slide. Russians were suspicious of the show's content, believing not only that it was primarily about America, but that it contained American propaganda. So, ang taga-Russians daw ay naghihinala sa nilaman ng mga palabas na naniwala hindi lamang na ito ay pangunahing tungkol sa Amerika. Ngunit naglalaman ito ng propaganda ng Amerika. So, apart from the challenge of audience studies, The cultural imperialism thesis has been belied by the renewed strength of regional trends in the globalization process. So, bukod sa hamon kung pag-aaralan ng madla, ang tesis ng imperialismong kultural ay pinagbulaanan ng panibagong lakas ng mga regional na trends o sa proseso ng globalisasyon. So, next reporter, maara to. Thank you.
Cultural globalization theories from homogenization to hybridity. Next slide. In terms of what gets globalized, this includes fiction, music, television genres which are considered to have originated in the US, such as talk shows, TV news, TV news program, sitcoms and comedy as well as infotainmental. The latter is seen as being a mixture of information with entertainment and is a consequence of growing commercialization of the media worldwide and the economic pressures which media corporations end up imposing on current affairs to make them more attractive to larger audiences. I-zoom raga may hell kay dili na ko mas maro. Sige pa. Dili na namawala ng puti.
Dili na, Chris.
Yan na lang. The cultural imperialism theories of the 1970s have thus given way to the cultural globalization perspective predominated media scholarship in the 90s, indicating for some a shift away from Tarsis-Ridge one-way model of cultural domination towards a more sophisticated and appreciation of multidirectional flows across countries, acknowledging the emergence of regional markets, the resistance of media audiences to American culture and diversity in the forms of engagement with media tech. Various theories have updated the cultural imperialism theories non non non-teles non nonetheless in the context of the persistence of inequalities of power and wealth between countries, the unevenness of laws and increasing media concentration and commercialization, arguing for its relevance still in context of expanding power of transnational media corporations situated in the rich West. The extent to which mass media have assisted in reinforcing American cultural supremacy throughout the world due to the dominance of Hollywood films and the export of the US television series continues of media systems toward format in the US. So, what is cultural globalization? It refers to the transmission of ideas, meaning and values around the world. Kung mingon pag cultural, unsa na to magkinabuhi og the way sa kanina, the way we speak sa atong language and sa atong belief ug sa food. So that what we call cultural. Ang mga theories sa 1960 o 1970 kay nagbigay daan sa cultural globalization na ang tanang mga kapangyarihan sa isang bansa nanalo sa panahon sa Amerika in 1970 dili pantay ang ilang pagtan-aw sa sa laing culture. Kay ang ilang ginatabangan lang katulang country nga nilambo lang. Pero katong mga country nga low cultural lang dili nila ginatabangan. Thank you.
Good day, everyone. This time I will tackle about the social media and the creation of cyber ghettos. If you heard about the social media, what idea will come up to your mind? What is social media? Okay, we all know that social media is very broad and it has many different platforms that we can easily access or can easily be accessed by many people around the world. If only you have the internet connection, smartphones, then you can access social media for free or anytime you want. Now, get to in cyberspace, it is a place or a social group that is marginalized or set aside or left out. Okay. Social media have both beneficial and negative effects. On the one hand, these forms of communication have democratized access. Why is that we can say that social media has democratized access? It's because we can access social media freely. So, doon na tayo freedom para maka-access sa social media or makagamit sa social media sa iyang different platforms. Okay, it has benefits since, like for example, this day we are currently experiencing pandemic and still face-to-face gatherings, face-to-face meetings, and many other is still restricted. Labi na tong mga lugar nga lockdowns pa or high risk pa lang. Then the benefits ani, we can use social media as the means of our communication. We do online businesses there. We can sell our products through online, also na nakaron, online selling, then online meetings, online classes, and many others. So it is the artificial way para ma-regain ang ato ang economy and para ma-regain ang ato ang mga nawala sa una during the first strike of the pandemic, pagka-lockdown sa tanan-tanan. But it has also negative effects. What is the negative effects man? So daghan negative effects. First example is that if you are very attached on social media na, grabe na nimo ka-rely on social media, then effect you are being addict and your standard is based on what you saw or what you have read on social media. Your standards have raised or nitaas tayo mo ang standards is because of what you saw on social media or what you have read. Now, anyone with an internet connection or a smartphone can use Facebook and Twitter for free. Okay, just like what I have mentioned earlier, if you have internet connection, a smartphone, then you can use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and many other for free. Okay? Now, these media have enabled users to be consumers and producers of information simultaneously. Okay, now you became a producer once you share a post or once you share a information. If you share those information, then you are the producer now. Since consumer ka, while you read that one or while you read that information, then you are the consumer. Or once you use or you watch, then you are the consumer and you are the producers now if you are going to produce it or share it into your group of friends simultaneously. So you can be a consumer and a producer in social media simultaneously. Okay? Now, media scholars argue that the world is becoming culturally homogeneous. Culturally homogeneous or being proud of his own culture or nationality and a common background with fellow citizens. Now, apart from the culture of diverse audiences and regional trends in cultural production, the internet and social media are proving that the globalization of culture and ideas can move in different directions. So why can we say that culture or ideas can be moved in different direction by the means of media or by the means of social media? Since social media, just like what I have mentioned earlier, it is very broad and it has many users and consumers. That's why nadali ra moabot ang information regarding ani, regarding ana. It's because of this pattern, or it's because of these means, or because of this medium. Okay. Like for example, bisan wala ta katong Korea, but why we know nga this is the characteristic, or this is the policies, or this is the behavior of a Korean people, or nganong kabalo man ta nga na sila Korea, K-pop, it's because of social media. It's because of TikTok, it's because of Facebook, Instagram, and many other. It's because of website. Sama ra gihapon na sa mga foreign countries. Nganong kabalo man sila nga ang Pilipinas daghay beaches na nindot bakasyonan, and very hospitable ang mga tao. It's because rapod na sa ilang mga research, or it's because rapod na sa mga natanaw nila sa Facebook, or Twitter, sa TikTok, or sa kanang mga YouTube vlogs na nag-feature regarding the Philippines or the Filipino people. So, nga na nila nakuha ngayon. Ani din mga Filipino, sama ra po na sa ato nga, ay, mas nice to gini then we are going to adapt their culture sometimes. Like, for example, sa mga tao nga mahilig og K-drama, Korean drama. But because they are so attached on Korean drama, they are practicing speaking Korean, even they are not studying Korean school, they will know how to speak Korean or to pronounce the word the language of the Koreans. It's because mahilig man sila magtanaw Korean drama ug na-adapt to nila na language sa Korean. So mao ra gyapon na sa mga foreign countries. If you once mag-search ka sa Google, what is the culture of India, then magawas na dito din. That is the time na ay, ingani diya ang kuan culture sa India, sa US, sa Korea. It's very beautiful. Sa Japan, it's very cool. It's very beautiful. It's very amazing. That's why you're going to share it. That's why nga, ang culture or ang ideas sa isa ka lugar mo balhin sa bisan asa, or mo adto sa bisan asa through the means of social media, since it is accessible by many people worldwide. Now, as such, being on Facebook can resemble living in an echo chamber, which reinforces one's existing beliefs and opinions. So, echo chamber, nganong echo chamber man siya? It's because once you have read an information regarding sa imuha or coincide to your beliefs and to your viewpoints, then maura to imo ang tuuhan. Maura to imo ang i-share. Maura to imo ang barugan. It's because makain na ka nga, more day, same day ni sa ako. So, parang, but because of this phenomenon also, it can affect the lives of the people also, or the viewpoints, or the behavior, or the traits of the users or the consumers. Kay, it's either pag ma-influensahan na siya, kasagaran ani is ma-close-minded na. Like what happened this time. So, daghan kayo mga teenagers or mga millennials karon ang mga close-minded. Once they have read an article that coincide to their beliefs and to their viewpoints, then kanto lang. Kana lang ilang barugan without researching or rereading another websites regarding those issue or those topic or those viewpoints. So, ang hinungdan ani, if you are very attached or rely on the information you have read on Facebook or in the social media, then pag ma-close-minded na ka, ang imong opinion and imong thoughts ay mabaliwala na siya. Okay? It's because mas gipili man to nimo siya. You are attached on what you have read or you have watched on social media. So, ma-adapt na to nimo siya. Then in the early 2000s, commentators began referring to the emergence of a split internet and the phenomenon of cyber-balkanization. Cyber-balkanization is referred to the various bubbles people place themselves in when they are online. So, In the United States, voters of the Democratic Party largely read liberal websites, and voters of the Republican Party largely read conservative websites. So they have different viewpoints and standpoints, so that's why kanira pod ilahang sundon. So kanira ilahang basahon, kanira ilang i-share. It's because para sa ila, kani man ang kani ang coincide sa ilang beliefs or parang connected sa ilang beliefs and their viewpoints. Okay. Split internet from the world split is yung pagka lain-lain or pagka divided by or pagka pagkabahin-bahin. Nganong bahin-bahin man siya? It's because doon naman may different viewpoints and different aspects sa whatever issues, political, economical, cultural, or many other, or technology that can be commercial. Now, the segmentation has been used by people in power who are aware that the social media bubbles can produce a herd mentality. So, this segmentation is nagagamit siya sa mga tao na sa mga tao na mga dagko. Like for example, in political aspects, so there were many people there were many politics out there that are using this, that are taking advantage on this mainstream, on this social media. They are paying trolls para mangdaot sa ilahang politician. So mga if a person is has a herd mentality, then kung unsa to'y sugo sa iyang sundon, or unsa to'y hang nabasa, unsa to'y hang natanaw, din iyang sundon. So parang para sa ilaha, tama to sila. So that is the herd mentality of a person. So sometimes we have a herd mentality. Galing sunod-sunuran lang. Then it can be exploited by politicians with less than democratic intentions and demagogues waiting to whip up popular anger. So like for example, there is a politician that is using some issue para kalabanon to or dauton tong isa ka politician nga iyahang kontra. So, ang kasuko sa mga tao maoy iyang gigamit since ay daghan man ni situation sa Facebook or sa social media nga nagapost ang mga tao nga kani nga politician nila kay then that is the time na gamiton to niyang opportunities para magsugo siya mga trollers na dauton or threat tong iyahang kalaban nga mga politician. Now, the same inexpensiveness that allows social media to be a democratic force likewise makes it a cheap tool of government propaganda. Sometimes it is a cheap tool of government propaganda daw ko na. Like for example, there is a page that is posting about a politician nga ingani kuno kadaghan nga mga tao ang nag-support. So ingani kadaghan nga mga tao nag-support sa inani nga politician. And then they can filter out there or pwede nila pasubraan ng ilahang news article that's i-post nila sa Facebook. Then kabalo man sila nga na mga tao dito nga tambay lang sa social media, whatever the issue, yung mga marites sa social media, unsa galito nga ang paminaw nila hot topics para karon, then they have the opportunity of posting it on social media. I mean, of sharing it to the other. Sharing hangtod sa mudaghan ang share, mudaghan na dahil na ang kuan. Tapos mga close-minded man, sa mga ilang tuuhan, kay close-minded man sila. Okay. Most recently, American intelligence agencies established that Putin used trolls and online misinformation to help Donald Trump win the presidency. A tactic the Russian autocrat is likely to repeat in European elections he seeks to influence. So it has happened in U.S. when Putin helped Donald Trump to win the presidency election in U.S. Then, kini si Putin daw is nagbayad og trolls and sharing online misinformation siguro sa mga kompetensya ni Donald Trump sa pwesto para madaot din ang kuanon sa mga tao is si Donald Trump, or they are using something or they make something para si Donald Trump ang madaog like hacking some accounts or interfering social media, doing cyber crimes. So, yan na. In places across the world, Putin imitators replicate his strategy of online trolling and disinformation to clamp down on decent and delegitimized critical media. Critics of the increasingly dictatorial regime of Turkey's President Recep Tayyip Erdogan are threatened by online mobs of pro-government trolls who hack accounts and threaten violence. Some of their responses have included threats of sexual violence against women. So it also happened in Turkey when President Recep Tayyip Erdogan are threatened by online mobs of pro-government. Nag-hack silag mga accounts and kadto ilahang gihimo. Nag-spread of misinformation and many other. Then fake information can spread easily on social media since they have few content filters. So we all know that social media is very broad and it has many users. That's why nga bisan kaning information is fake, but the people will caught their attention. So pag makuha to sa mga tao, then i-share na to nila without rereading or proofreading para makita or ma-sure if that information or that article is reliable and factual. Since walay filters ang Facebook, unlike sa TV, unlike sa newspapers, unlike sa magazine, then manggawas gyud tanan, since we can all say that social media do not have its bias. Okay? Now, unlike newspapers, like just what I have mentioned earlier, unlike newspapers, Facebook do not have any filters, wala sila nag-hire og editors para i-filter ang mga information nga gina-post sa mga users or sa consumers and or producers. Wala sila editors para pag naka-i-share dito na misinformation, din i-delete na to nila largo. So, daghan ba yung accident karon nahitabo sa Facebook? That's why nga hapit ipasara. That's why Zuckerberg changed the Facebook into Meta. Di na siya Facebook, Meta na siya. Okay? Nagka-issue sila dito. Nagka-issue ni sila. Grabing issue. Nakabantay mo atong parang nag-breakdown ng Facebook. Dili na mo maka-access. So, mautot siya nga reason. Nga gi-hearing pa. Kay daghan ko ng kaso sa social media, daghan kaso sa Facebook na wala nila na fix. Wala na fix sa company sa Facebook. That's why gi-change si Mark Zuckerberg from Facebook, he changed it into Meta. If a news article, even a fake one, gets a lot of shares, it will reach many people with Facebook accounts, so that, just like what I have mentioned earlier. Di pareha sa newspaper, if mali imong para sa imong manager, imong nasulat is gabi ra ka vulgar, then ipa-edit to niya para dili ka madaot or para dili madaot yung company. Labi nagduna sila ginapaboran na politician. So daghan kayo na in Facebook. In Facebook, dito amang latag tanan ng daghan man dinig record si kuan. Di man day ni clean. Just like for example what happened to Aquino and the Marcoses. A lot of people saying Marcoses are evil. Why? Are they sure that this Cuangco and the Aquinos are very clean? Wala gid baya sila record? Are you sure of that? Daghan ba? So, are you sure your resources are factual na of Marcoses are very evil? Good. So, do you know the backstory? So, kanang mga backstory nga dili ipakita sa TV, sa radio, dili isulat sa newspaper, then makita na ninyo sa social media from different platforms. Kay daghan diya, some of the thrillers are good, some of the hackers are good daw kuno, but some of them are very, very bad. They can make your lives, or they can make you suffer a life. Okay. Now, as consumers of media, users must remain vigilant and learn how to distinguish fact from falsehood in global media landscape that allows politicians to peddle what President Trump's senior advisors now call alternative facts. So, ingana. If you are a consumer of media, before sharing, before clicking, before posting, knows if that is reliable sources or it is factual. To minimize cyber crimes and spreading misinformation. Though people must remain critical of mainstream media and traditional journalism that may also operate based on vested interest, we must also insist that some sources are more credible than others. So, be careful lang po sometimes because dili ta na nakita ninyo sa TV, napaminaw sa radyo, nabasa newspaper, nabasa sa libro are true. Kay, kanasala, sometimes it is edited. We all know that those news articles sometimes are edited. And sometimes TikTok is credible. We can accept the fact that TikTok is sometimes credible, Facebook is credible, basta lang ang sources is tinuod lang gid pud siya. Factual and reliable. So, karon nga panahon, we cannot say or we cannot state already that this one is true, kay tanan pareha, parang pareha na ay possibilities. So, ang ana. So, parang bagbantay lang jud and very alert lang yun sa mga mabasa sa social media o mapanood sa mga news TVs or mabasa sa printed materials. Now, a newspaper story that is written by a professional journalist and vetted by professional editors is still likely to be more credible than a viral video produced by someone in his and her bedroom, even if both will have their biases. People must be able to tell the difference. So just like what I have mentioned earlier, even we can say that those video produced by someone is credible and the article written in printed materials is credible also, but we all know that sometimes these both is daghan gyapon yung possibilities nga nga ilahang himuon. So, para sa ato ang mga consumers and consumers or readers or the clients of the information that they are sharing, then we must be very vigilant and more observant kung asay tinuod ug asay dili tinuod. So, we must tell the difference of the two, and we need to search or research in our own kung asa gid ang tinuod. But we have different standpoint man, so respect lang yun, ana lang. Now, conclusion. This lesson showed that different media have diverse effects on globalization process. At one point, it seemed that global television was creating a global monoculture. Now it seems more likely that social media will splinter cultures and ideas into bubbles of people who do not interact. Yung mga tambay lang sa social media, so ginabahin-bahina nila. Okay? So, mabahin-bahin ng cultures, it's because of the bubbles of people or mga bula sa mga tao nga dili ganahan o dili gusto interaction but tambay sa social media. So, we all know that some are introvert in personal but in social media are very talkative or very active na or content makers nga na. Societies can never be completely prepared for the rapid changes in the systems of communication. Every technological change, after all, creates multiple unintended consequences. Okay, so even social media made us access very easily, like doing businesses or kanang mag-contact sa friends and families from afar. It is very easy. Or making friends in social media, we can do both, but we all know that this social media is not also safe, so be careful about your information and of yourselves, kay basin mahack yung mga account do kay ka. So yan no. Even this technology change our way of living or standard way of living, it made our life easier, but it has also consequences. Daghan nila mga scammer na napod sa online. Since online naman ang tanan, online po nang ang scammer. Consumers and users of media will have a hard time turning back the clock. So, nga na, kung unsa tong na-share na nimo, dili na nimo mabalik. Okay? Kung isa ka nag-share nga misinformation, then tulubago na nimo kay nikalat na siya, kay gi-share man sad nimo. So, nga na. Though people may individually try to keep out of Facebook or Twitter, for example, this media will continue to engender social changes. Instead of fearing these changes or entering a state of moral panic, everyone must collectively discover ways of dealing with them responsibly and ethically. So the best way is being responsible, know your limits, know the etiquette when using internet or when using social media. So be vigilant, be observant if that information is very factual and reliable before clicking, before posting, or even before kung unsay toy uso, ayaw lang gid pod sunda-sunda no. Make sure na katong uso is good for you or good for the others. Dili makadaot sa uban. Labi na sa mga politician, artists, actresses and actors, or many other content maker, vloggers, or yung mga tao na kumikita sa social media. So, be careful of that thing. Dili ka makadaot sa kinabuhi sa uban. You can make someone suffer. So, be responsible and be respectful even it is not a face-to-face interaction, even if it is still internet interaction, just be respectful. Para respetuan pud ka. Kay bisan sa online ka, karespetuan ka, if your action, if your kanang ginahimo, wala nakapaapak sa uban. Right? That is my report. Thank you for listening and hope you understand something.
So good morning everyone. We were talking about how globalization affects religious practices and beliefs. So my topic is the globalization of religion. So religion have crossed many boundaries, having been spread by the founders of this country. So when it comes religion, daghan joy masulod sa ato ang mind about nga nga topic. Ang relihiyon ay tumatawid sa maraming mga hangganan na ikinalat ng mga emigrante, agresor o ng mga tagapagtatag nitong bansa. So unsa day connection sa religion o ang globalization. So atong hatagan og meaning, globalization is spread of technology, products, information and jobs across nations. So about gini siya sa teknolohiya, produkto o mga trabaho sa laing nasod. So what is the differences of religion and globalization? So maghatag og example. So ang globalization focuses about how they were going to increase sa mga products and sa lahang mga businesses, while ang religion is nag-focus sila sa ilahang faith and kung unsa gid ilahang padulungan sa ilahang kinabuhi. So for example, para sa ako I am a Seventh-day Adventist o nag-focus me sa pag-spread sa gospel, nag-focus me o nag-care me about sa mga Holy Spirit sa amo ang so pitawagan na kanang kung sa Tagalog pa is kaluluwa ana kung paingon langit ba or impyerno. So 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 nganong gi-topic nganong ang topic is about the globalization of religion tungod kay ang religion sab gihimo I mean ay kanang naka-benefit nahatag ang religion is naghatag sab og benefit nga kay ang uban is gamiton nila ang religion para kanang bitawng di ba ang uban is kanang gusto nila nga ma-spread ang gospel. So di ba kung about sa globalization is kanang about ang globalization is kanang maka exchanging kung sabi ay exchanging sa both benefits ninyo. So kung sa religion sab wait lang. Kung sa religion is kanang ang usak ay nitabi for example ako and then Seventh Adventist ko tapos akong gi-share ang akong pagtuo dili lang diri ang lugar kundi sa laing nasod sab. So mo na siya ginatawag og globalization sa religion. And then ato sab i-connect ang religion through culture nga topic no. So what's the difference between religion and globalization? So ang culture ug ang globalization is are inextricably interwoven. So dili sila mabulag. Pero what's the difference between culture and globalization? So ang religion is related to the Almighty or the Creator who created the whole universe, while culture is related to the evolution of humans under practices and belief. Pero nabi ay uban no nga ang ilahang religion is based sa ilahang nadak-an or namana nila through sa ilahang parents or sa ilang mga relatives, silang mga kalulalalahan. Okay na.
Good day. So, this is the continuation of our report. Realities. Actually, the relationship between religion and globalism is much more complicated. Peter Berger argues that far from being secularized, the contemporary world is furiously religious. So, from the word furiously religious means galit na galit sa relihiyoso. So si Peter Berger is wa gid siya ning argue gid siya sa statement nga ang religious or ang relihiyoso nga pamaagi is kamumuhian because the contemporary world is in most of the world there are veritable explosions of religious fervor occurring in one form of another in all the major religious traditions: Christianity, Judaism, Islam, Hinduism, Buddhism, and even Confucianism. And in many places, in imaginative synthesis of one or more world religions with indigenous faiths. So si Peter Berger is wagid siya ning say yes nga ang relihiyoso nga pamaagi is kamumuhian because like sa Philippines for example is naga-adapt gyud sa relihiyoso nga pamaagi kay most of the people sa Philippines is Christianity and nagabelieve gyud in God and naagi tagsa-tagsa ka mga faith. So, so the late Iranian religious leader Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini bragged about the superiority of Islamic rule over its secular counterparts and pointed out that there is no fundamental distinction among constitutional, despotic, dictatorial, democratic, and communistic regimes. So, kini si Ayatollah Khomeini is kaning from the word brag is pinagyayabang niya nga walay lain walay laing fundamental distinction nga kaning walay kalahian ang fundamental distinction among constitutional, despotic, dictatorial, and democratic, and also kaning komunista. Wala daw kuno'y pagkalahian kundi kapareha ra daw kuno. So nagatuo siya nga all secular ideologies were the same. They were flawed, and Islamic rule was the superior form of government because it was spiritual. So sa iyang thoughts is ang iya lang gid gituuhan nga wala daw kunoy lain nga dapat nga ipataas nga kaning pamamahala kundi ang Islam lang, tungod kay ang Islamic rule daw kuno is superior form and naga-teach sila about spiritual. So, moreover, religious movements do not hesitate to appropriate secular themes and practices. The Moderate Muslim Association Nadlatul Ulama in Indonesia has Islamic schools where students are taught not only about Islam but also about modern science, the social science, modern banking, civic education, rights of women, and pluralism, and also democracy. So the religious movements of the Moderate Muslim Association is nagtukod silang school dito sa Indonesia, which is ang mga student is dili lang about Islam ang ilang ang gina-teach dito or ang ginakat-on kundi about sa mga modern science and also social science. In other cases, religion was the result of a shift in state policy. The Church of England, for example, was shaped by the rationality of modern democratic culture. King Henry VIII broke away from Roman Catholicism and established his own church to bolster his own power. In the United States, religion and law were fused together to help build this modern secular society. So, this man named Henry VIII is ning sipak siya or naglahi siya or ning biya siya sa religious belief na Roman Catholic, and nag-establish siya own niya nga belief or ang kaning iyang nagpatuman siya iyang own nga pamaagi or iyang understanding, nagtukod siya lain nga church to establish his own power. It was observed in the early 80s by French historian and diplomat Alexis de Tocqueville, who wrote not only to the Americans practice there out of self-interest, but they often even place in this world the interest which they have in practicing it. So, dili lang dito nga lugar, kundi naga-establish pud sila even though sa lahi nga lugar. Jose Casanova confirms this statement by noting that historically, religion has always been at the very center of all great political conflicts and movements of social reform. So si Jose Casanova is iyang gi-confirm ang statement nga ang religion gyud is always gid nga ipacenter nga dapat nga i-promote. So sa politics, from an interdisciplinary point of view, the link between politics and religion raises many issues. Politicians are mostly concerned with the issues that they or their constituents want to promote. In some cases, these issues may not provide a benefit for the majority of the public. Globalization has the same effect. Globalization may benefit some but not others. Religious globalization may not benefit most and could harm some of those touched by it. So this religious globalization is nagahatag yap man siya duha ka effect, and dili lang kay positive and also sab nagakuan po siya og negative effect. So some of the potential problems with religious globalization are related to virtues, values, and ethics. To a large extent, major world religions have already seen globalization. Some form of most religious factions and denominations exist throughout America and the rest of the world. Exemptions to religious globalizations are Cuba and others whose virtues, values, and ethics are controlled by the politics of those countries. So mostly ang religious globalization is naka-affect lang siya sa like for example sa America and sa uban nga mga country nga which is dili lang kay ang exemption lang nga religious globalization is ang gihatag diri is ang Cuba, kay tungod kay ang ilang country is naalay isa ka virtues, values, and ethics, and isa lang ilang gina-follow nga law, ang gina-promote nila nga law, wala nilang dili ka press sa uban country nga which is naa sila connect ka press sa uban country nga which is naa sila connection nga bisan og sa lahi nga lugar or sa gawas sa nasod. For example, ang America and sa Philippines is same ra sila og values and ethics. So since the development of America, politics and religion have been very closely related. The United States was founded on the principle of religious freedom. In our country, we have the right to practice any form of religion or not practice any religion at all. So, since the development of America, politics and religion have been very closely related. So, sa America and even there is a Philippines, just like for example na lang sa religion nga sa born again, ang Christianity is dili gid na diri gikan sa Philippines kundi gikan na sa America, and gina-spread lang naabot lang na diri sa Philippines tungod sa mga American or mga because of the people who spread the messages or who naga-spread diri sa ato ang country. And sa ato ang country is natay freedom to choose our religion, and even though gani nga kaning ang uban wala sila wala sila ginabatunan nga religion, wala sila wala sila nagstand sa isa ka religion, wala gihapoy, wala sila giunsa, walay pakialam, okay ra, so tako kay tag freedom. But it also provides for the separation of church and state. This demarcation relates to our government not establishing or supporting any one particular religion. However, in reality, religions and politics have helped shape our country's culture, laws, and economic development. So this in reality gid is dako kay tabang ang kaning religions and politics sa ato ang countries and sa ato ang society, because naga-shape pud ni siya sa kung sa culture ug kaning nagahatag pud siya laws ay and economic development aron nga nindot ang flow sa ato ang pagpamayo. In some countries, religion and governments are close to one in the same. One can argue that politics and religions remain integrated even as religions globalize and spread to other countries. So, it's like sa akong giingon kagaina nga for example, ang Christianity nga belief or ang religion is from America siya or sa dili siya from Philippines, but na-introduce siya tungod sa mga people nga naga-spread and hantod nga nag-spread and nagkadaghan og maayo ang nahimo nga Christian. So even though layo or kaning from another country siya, but still nagyapon siya connection. Most of America's religions were introduced by the people that immigrated into our country. The basic religious belief remain intact. However, cultures and religious practices were adapted to our democratic form of government. As religions globalize, religion continues to be used to promote. So even though lagyo ang gigikanan, but still more gihapon ang belief and we're still ga-adapt gihapon sa democratic form of government. And ang mas kina-highlight is ang religion and as religions globalize, religion continues to be used to promote as always good. So that's all po. Thank you.
Good morning everyone. My topic is all about the globalization of religion. And today I will going to discuss the economic and technological influences on the globalization of religion. Let us first discuss the economics. In the last 30 years or so, the world economy has expanded globally like no other time in history. It is generally believed that this economic growth can be traced almost identically to the tremendous growth in the use of the internet. The development, along with the strategic placement of satellites throughout the universe, has allowed money to change hands in vast sums as quickly as one can generate an electronic command at the keyboard in front of the operator. Ang ekonomiya ang nagpadagan sa baligyanan both local and international sa bawat country and the whole world. Sa 30 years ang nilabay, ang world economy is na-expand or na-disseminate to the extent na bawat country ang nag-habituate ani. Ginatuuhan na ang economic growth ug sa usage sa internet kay almost kapareha ang pagsaka. Tungod sa paglambo ug pagbabutang ug pag-ayo sa mga satellites sa atong system, ang pagbaylo og kwarta nga naay-klase-klase sa nga currency like dollar, yen, or piso is dali ra gamit ang computer. Ang paglambo sa ekonomiya sa tibuok kalibutan is nahimutang lamang sa kung asa ang atong lokasyon. There have been many other influencing factors which have worked together in an interdisciplinary fashion to forge this growth. Politics, technology, culture have worked together to generate this incredible expansion. Daghan mga factors ang i-consider nga naka-influence sa paglambo sa ekonomiya. Pwede ang politika, teknolohiya ug kultura ang maka-impluwensya. Sila tanan nagsagol-sagol aron ma-expand sa tibuok kalibutan ang mga goods or products sa certain country. Many theorists believe that this economic expansion globally has been fueled mainly by the United States and to a lesser extent by the Eastern European bloc. The radically held belief is that most of the rewards of economic globalization have been realized because of what is commonly known as westernization or Americanization. The expansion of the large American consumer brands to a position of global dominance lent credence to this way of thinking. Dakog tabang sa ekonomiya ug sa paglambo sa usa ka lugar pag nahimutang diha sa ilaha ang pagbaligya and marketing. Daghan mga teorya nag-ingon nga ang United States daw ang rason nganong mas ni-expand ang influensya about sa economy in respect sa global state. Ana apil sab niini gamay ang Eastern European countries. Tungad ani, natinuod jud ang theory to the extent nga kung mo nakaayo, when we are talking about global economy and America is known ana like Americanization or Westernization. Daghan kaayo ang mga mamalitay or consumer nga ga-praise about America Westernian products tungod ato na mga sulti, mura na gi-dominate nila ang pag-raise and contribute in a global level until now. The economic growth of religions has also been driven by technology since mass media can be used to spread the word and provide many of the benefits of church membership in the confines of one's own home. Missionary work is generally thought to be a traditional method of evangelizing people that existed in generations gone by. So, my second topic is all about technology. We all know na unsa gyud ang technology. So, technology within the scope of religious globalizations plays a major role in how and to whom the religion and its doctrine extends. Human civilization has never been without technology and has relied upon the potential of technological advance in order to advance its own social branches. Technology has entered the information age and has globalized at accelerating rates through technological advancement. The information technologies and transport means the media are the bridges to disseminate religious ideas. Let's say, for example, there are different websites that provide information about religions, and is given important information explanation about the different religions which are accessible in any part of the world. So it can be stated that human civilization at some point in history was without religion and had no purpose to create one. Up until the age of global dominance by the human race, it was necessary to establish a universal form of living and thinking due to the ever-growing need to control and manipulate the minds and hearts of people all over. In today's world, where information and its instant quality are readily available to even the most remote of six stores in the world, religion, if it is to survive, has adopted and utilized technology and its light speed ability to maintain a grip on its members. So there are different tools of uniting people all over the world on religions. Basis, we have special internet sites, social networks, cell phones, and applications. Religion and its ceremonies are still practiced with a temple or church, yet we see the influence of technology upon religion as we now have a DVD version of the Bible for all Christian followers to appreciate. Religions have also made the leap onto the information superhighway, which brings religion's teachings into every home and monitor in global setting. Now, internet allows people to contact each other easily worldwide, which allows religions ideas to spread. Media plays a significant role in disseminating religious ideas. The television channels, radio situations, are religious stations that advocate religion. Okay, that's all my topic, technology and economy.
Okay, good day everyone. My report is all about religion for and against globalization conclusion. Next slide. Okay, globalization. So, ang globalization, natapit naman ni nato siya sa unang lesson. Kabalo na taon sa meaning ani, but for now, I will rewind what is the meaning of globalization. Globalization refers to the historical process by which all the world's people increasingly come to live in a single social unit. So, ang globalization ay ito yung paraan ng pamumuhay at pananaw na nakaugnay sa buong mundo. At ito ay naglalaman ng lumalawak na ugnayan ng mga ekonomiya, kultura at populasyon ng mundo bunsod ng mabilis na palitan ng mga produkto at serbisyo at pagitan ng mga bansa, pag-unlad ng teknolohiya, daloy ng salapi, migrasyon at mabilis na palitan ng impormasyon. And that's the meaning of globalization. Next slide, please. Rogel. Okay, the religion. So, familiar din sa ato ang religion. Ito yung mga relihiyon kung saan tayo nasasakop kung anong pinaniniwalaan nating relihiyon na pinapanampalataya natin. So, ang religion is a collection of cultural systems, belief systems, and worldviews that establishes symbols that relate humanity to spirituality and to moral values. Religion comes from the Latin word religare, which means to bind together again that which was once bound but has since been torn apart or broken. So, ang religion or relihiyon ay isang kalipunan ng mga sistemang paniniwala, mga sistemang kultural at pananaw sa na nag-uugnay ng sangkatauhan sa espiritualidad at minsan ay sa moralidad. So, ang religion ay tinatawag din ito sa Latin word na religare na ang ibig sabihin ay ito yung salitang nanggaling salitang Latin na religare na ang ibig sabihin ay pagbubuklod at pagbabalik loob sa Diyos. Yes, next slide please. So, ay, di na nadra kay taas na na ko ano napilon isa pa. Next slide. Okay. Here are the impacts of globalization on religion. So, the evangelical Christian missionaries' activity across the nations and emerging multi-religious phenomenon increasingly conflicts about different religious assumption about others, freedom, and different religious behavior, and explosive and revolutionary movement against globalism and the development of religious terrorists and religion are narrowly used to justify national identity, and religion and globalization are in conflict. So, usahay po daw ang globalization o religion na sila'y conflict. And globalization transformed the generic religion into a world system of competing and conflicting religions. In this process, institutional specialization has transformed cultural practices into recognizable system of religion. That's why, basta mag-uban pa ng religion o globalization, naagad na sila conflict. Dili gina mawala ang ilang conflict. Naagad na sila problema po. So, next slide please. Okay. Here are the last part of my report, the conclusion of globalization for and against religion conclusion. The conclusion of this is, in a time in which globalization has yet to fully compete, its process, religion must use the communication easily available through advanced technology to focus more on the humane and pluralistic forms of their teachings values such as human dignity and human freedom as means to manage religious diversity and avoid violence. In other words, religious should be open to other traditions and what they can teach. In fact, though having fixed texts, the major world religions do not have fixed beliefs, only fixed interpretations of those beliefs, meaning their beliefs can be rediscovered, reinvented, and reconceptualized. So, the globalization stands for increase and daily contact, while religion are becoming more self-conscious for themselves as being the world religious. The basic tenets of
Siguro ka 50 di
globalization
ba?
stands against religious parochialism and by diminishing the barriers between different cultures, globalization lands religion in quagmire of conflict which reinforce social identities as some do not accept the new realities and turn to religion to rediscover their own identity. And that's why religion provides a sense of belonging to a group in the world. So religion has stood the complexity and onslaught of the modern world and is then to be further intensified under the condition of contemporary development. So that's the end of my report. Thank you for listening.